Hello there, you're listening to the Earful Tower podcast. If you like shows about Paris, then get comfortable because that's what this is all about. My name's Oliver G, and speaking of getting comfortable, there's no better way to be comfortable than in a mattress. I'm just kidding. We don't do mattress ads around here. We don't do any ads around here. In fact, this episode is brought to you by my weekly newsletter. If you enjoy a little bit of Paris in your inbox, subscribe to mine. It's different from all the other ones. Sometimes I sneak in little secret threads that you can try and figure out and win prizes. In fact, there was a Paris-related one in the most recent edition. I'll reveal it at the end of this episode. But if you fancy checking it out while we're talking, it's theearfultower.com/newsletter. Now, as for today's episode, you are going to meet Pamela Druckerman, an American author in Paris. If you're thinking that name sounds familiar, of course, she's the author of Bringing Up Bébé, also known as French Children Don't Throw Food. Brilliantly written, very witty. She tells the story of bringing up a child in France, the difference between French children, American children, and it's full of good laughs along the way, something I'm particularly interested in rereading, actually, now that I've got a little one on the way too. But Pamela's also written a children's book, Paris by Phone. You can check out that on all the links in the show notes. We'll talk about it in this episode, of course. But I want to talk about this episode before we get into it because it's a bit different. This episode wasn't recorded in a studio. In fact, I haven't used the studio for about a year, partly because of the lockdown and the curfew and everything. Secondly, I think it's nice to have some ambient noise in the background, like in this episode. So I met Pamela at the Place de Vosges, the famous ancient, I think we could even say ancient park in the middle of the Marais with the arcades all around it. And we were going to sit on a park bench and record the episode, but it started raining. And I said, Pamela, how about we walk the whole perimeter of the park under the arcades so we won't get rained on and we can see what we find along the way. So if you really want to imagine that you're with us, we started in the northwest corner and we basically did a full lap. You'll be able to follow, I think, by the places and things that we mention along the way. But here you go. Oh yes, and before I forget, halfway through the episode, you're going to hear a bit of French. This is where I saw a man leaving his courtyard in the Place de Vosges, and I asked permission to come and look. And he let us in, and it was wonderful, beautiful pictures coming to social media soon. But we ended up talking to him for about 10-15 minutes in French. Now, I'm not going to leave that in the episode. That would be crazy, but I will leave the first 30 seconds or so you can see how you do with your own French and maybe steal some ideas for asking permission into a courtyard next time you're here. Anyway, let's get into it. Here's Pamela Druckerman talking about Paris, children's books, and the Place de Vosges. Let's get into it. Pamela Druckerman, welcome to my studio.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is the...
The rent must be pretty good.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Have you been into any of the houses around where we're walking?
I have been into what on the other side?
Are you allergic to them?
I'm allergic to you.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, goodness. What do you think about the Place de Vosges before we get into any topic here?
It's, of course, like every place in Paris, it gives me real estate anxiety. I feel like I should have bought here, 20 years ago when I first moved to Paris. But once I get past the consumer side of my impressions, it's amazing. It's symmetrical, it's regal, it's imposing, it's useful. It's kind of everything that Paris is, in a way.
Yeah, and it's
well-maintained.
And it's just sort of jaw-droppingly beautiful.
And jaw-droppingly beautiful.
There's no denying that. Have you tried to get into any of these courtyards before? Are you that kind of person that would jump into a courtyard?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And have you succeeded around here?
Actually, I'm the kind of person that would jump into a courtyard with my kids behind me going, "You're not allowed to do that," and drawing attention to the whole thing. But here, I don't think I've been in... Have you broken into courtyards here?
Do we say broken into? Surely we don't say that.
Have you entered
I've gently followed people in without being too... direct or anything.
You're that guy who comes in behind the old lady?
Yeah. I've kind of mastered the art of it as well. So they sort of nod at me now going, "Oh, just another resident hopping in here." I've been in this one, number 11, where we're walking past. Yeah, they're really good.
God,
they're really good.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh, I feel like I've missed the real Paris.
Here's an
idea. You're going to finally show it to me.
all over.
There's a door that's open right there.
Well, we'll go into there.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. If anything's open, we'll pop into it today and we'll take the listeners on a journey with us.
Fantastic.
But of course, we're also going to talk about a whole host of other things. I've got about 1 million questions for you.
Okay. I think this is a place I hate to disappoint you, but that we're allowed to go into.
Yeah, I know. It's the Sully.
Okay.
It's the Jardin de Sully.
Wait.
But it's we can take everybody for a little spin around the park, if nothing else. In fact, if you're not driving at home, folks, you can Google where we are now because it's particularly beautiful. Look at this.
Oh my God.
Look at this.
This is astonishing.
And it's so empty.
I have to say that no one is blasé about Paris. Like Parisians are the least blasé about Paris, I think.
Yeah. What do you make of this? Is this the kind of thing that an American woman in Paris would pop into for a little coffee, or are you sort of...
I mean, I mostly just go back and forth from the supermarket to my apartment. But I mean, looking at what's probably like 1,000-year-old olive tree is...
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to take a picture. Well, someone's sneaking in behind us, using my own trick. I'm going to take a picture as we talk.
And look at the view back there to the arcade. It's incredible.
What a treat. It's like we're on a tour or something, Pamela.
We're also being manipulated by all this beauty and
How do you
symmetry.
mean? How do you mean?
It's overwhelming. You can't not be sort of awed, and you cannot sort of like love not just this, but the platonic idea of beauty when you're looking at something like this. It's that perfect.
Yeah, but how does it manipulate us?
It tells us what to feel.
So
That's what manipulation
you mean
is.
it tells us what's beautiful? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I guess you're right. Manipulation implies that it's negative, and in a way it's sort of educational.
I feel like I could learn a lot from you, Pamela. Yeah, I think so. Your book, let's talk about bringing up Bébé,
Okay.
or French children don't throw food in some countries.
Pick your favorite title.
Well, I'm Australian. What should I call it?
That book? I don't know.
The book that sparked... Should we do a loop around here?
Sure.
The book that sparked a national... Look, there's an egg.
Where?
Down there behind the rat
Oh
trap.
my God, you're a good egg spotter.
An excellent one, we could say. Your book sparked a national debate, at the very least, as I understand it. Maybe I'll tell
about
you...
the death penalty, or
No, maybe I'll tell you about sort of my sort of notion of your book, and you tell me how right I am. So just
Okay.
I read it about 3 or 4-ish years ago, and everybody talked about it then. And when was it published?
2012.
Okay, so people were talking about it still then. I read it. I really enjoyed it. I read it even though I didn't have a child on the way like I do now, but I want to reread it. A lot of people have been messaging me now saying, you got to read this book by Pamela Druckerman.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's everybody, right?
Okay.
And
I'm going to do my best not to undermine your confidence in me today.
But then I was looking it up again before I came to meet you and reading about it, like what other people had said about it. And firstly, I went on Goodreads, where people rate books, and rank them. There are so many reviews of it. Do you, as an author, go in and read them all? Or are you you can't read 5,000 reviews?
I mean, if I know they're going to be nice, I might read them if I'm in a sort of down mood. But you never know what you're going to find when you wade into that.
True.
You know what they call it cutting.
Cutting?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like self-harm to read reviews
Really?
of your own book, yeah.
I don't know about I have never heard that one before. But when there's so many, that must be I can't even imagine it,
You mean, how does it feel to have all those people have opinions about me?
I mean, just firstly, just think how many people that means read the book, let alone reviewed it. I don't know. I'm really intrigued how it feels for you.
To be known in a way by that many people. I guess it's kind of calming. Like I like being able to be known through things I write rather than through the sort of blurrier, messier way of actually meeting someone or speaking with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I quite like this right now. I don't mean to downplay person-to-person stuff, but it's kind of because a book is a version of you. It's your literary persona,
sure,
and you can make it into you cut out all the boring bits.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like showing the best version of yourself.
Right.
Okay. In terms of the book, I mean, it's been out for 10 years now.
Yeah.
10 years, right?
Almost 10 years.
Right.
It was next year. It'll be 10 years.
And by the way, I heard they're going to make it into a movie.
Rumor has it.
What does that mean, rumor has it?
No, I mean, there's a wonderful actress who signed on.
I already know who it is. Can we say it?
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway?
Anne Hathaway.
What does that mean she signed on? She's in? It's happening?
She's signed on to the project. I think there's just like a Hollywood procession of things. You get an actress to sign on, and let's hope that it gets made. I think there are a few other hoops it has to jump through before it becomes an actual movie.
It must be like... If that were me, if Anne Hathaway were playing me in a movie, which would be weird to say the least, but if I knew it, I'd want to shout that from the rooftops. But I imagine there's also the fear that these things take forever to go through or whatever.
They take forever. You sort of want to play it cool and not jinx the project by being too sure that it's actually going to happen. But she's amazing, and she's what I like most. I like so many things about her, but one thing that I adore about her is that she can sing.
Yeah, can you sing?
No, not at all. But in my counterfactual self, I'm tall and skinny and I can sing.
She was amazing in Les Mis.
She was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could dance. She's incredible. It's not a musical, unfortunately, the film, but...
Well, you never know. Anything can happen with these Hollywood types.
Anyone can burst into song at any moment.
That was my favorite bit about Les Mis, is how they just kept bursting into song for things that, seemed kind of irrelevant. We should probably sing in here. We're in the courtyard now of the Hôtel de Sully.
Beneath two very scantily dressed women.
Yeah, I mean... And scantily, the men, well, that guy's a bit scantily dressed.
They're forever on walls opposite each other, yearning for each other.
And is it a sphinx? The kind of horsey lady there?
What is
out of
that?
proportion?
I've never seen it's like a half goat, half woman. Is that a thing?
I'll tell you one thing though, those big arches there would have been where the horses was stationed in the old days, I'm sure, right? And it's funny now to see motorbikes and bicycles parked in there. But for the people who don't know what I'm talking about, if you ever go down this main road, it's not Rivoli, but it's just before Rivoli, and you have to come through this
Rue
hotel.
Saint-Antoine.
That's right, through the Sully Hotel to get to the Place de Vosges, where we're about to go back to. But that is one of my favorite doors in Paris too, with the big snakes around there.
Incredible. It's funny you mentioned horses, because I was just thinking about that expression, "hold your horses," which is like a 19th century expression.
Right.
Does anyone say that anymore? Or am I like the last generation?
Let's bring it back.
Right? Okay.
So
I'm going to work that into the conversation somehow.
Let's bring it back as many horse idioms as we can.
Okay.
So Anne Hathaway playing you in a movie. Ow.
Yes.
Anne Hathaway, I just walked into something. That's got to be a pinch me moment.
Definitely. Yeah, yes.
You're very cool about all this stuff, I must say. I'd be jittery with excitement. I'm saying it as a compliment.
No, I'm delighted. Yeah. I just don't know how to express my delight.
I guess I've got boyish enthusiasm for this stuff.
You do. I appreciate your boyish enthusiasm, and I've had some time to assimilate the information, and I'm looking forward to it developing.
Same with your book. I mean, 10 years that it's been out, you must be used to the fact that everybody's read it and everybody's talking about it. But how...
I'm amazed that people are just still having babies.
Really?
Yeah. For me, it's like something I did 10 years ago. I'm over it. And then I meet people who are pregnant and about to go through the whole process all over again.
Do you have advice?
Cycle of life.
You know what we have in common is your husband, he's not French.
No.
British?
British.
Yeah. And so you're two foreigners in Paris having a baby. I've got that in common with you guys.
Two foreigners from two different places in a third country.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know.
An embarrassment of passports.
Yeah, right.
For your child as well.
Right? Like Jason Bourne or Jasonette Bourne if it's a girl.
We must do something more covert with our lives. It's a waste of passports.
But do you have any advice for people in the same situation, like me and my wife and others who are
You will spend
foreigners?
all your holidays visiting your parents and your relatives in different countries. So sorry about that.
No, but that's lovely. But what about going through everything in Paris? Do you think it makes you... Do you think there are advantages to it, or do you think it's like a complete disadvantage?
To raising children in Paris?
Yeah, and going through everything as two foreigners in the city.
Oh, it's great.
How come?
Well, because everything is interesting, nothing is boring. Everything becomes a kind of anthropological, intercultural experience. And there are so many levels on which you can compare your home country to France. Yeah. And France is just an excellent mirror because it's so certain of all the things it does. It's so proud. It's so... everything's so steeped in history. So it becomes both... interesting on a kind of sociological level, but also kind of playful and fun, because you can poke fun at France. You can, it's just everywhere you look in France, there's kind of something to see and someone to talk to. And especially in Paris, people are so intellectual and so certain that they can name experiences. And, famously, like, no one in Paris ever says, je ne sais pas, je ne sais quoi, because they always know exactly what it is, and they love to put their finger on it. So it's a delight. It's a delightful place to study. What? I think, haven't you found that?
For sure. I'm pretty constantly observing people and what's going on and trying to figure it all out. And I don't know, I've been out of Australia for a long time now, like 10 years.
Yeah.
So I kind of find myself, I don't know, I don't know if you found this as well, but you've been here for 20 years now, right?
17.
Okay, so it sort of becomes less about comparing it to back home and you just sort of compare everything to everything all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
Well, if you throw Sweden into the mix,
exactly.
and I throw Britain into the mix, yeah. But I think there's something...
So they're doing renovation on the Place de Vosges?
Right, of your office. They're doing tunnel on your office.
They could have told me.
Right. Should we tell them to hold their horses?
Well, no, I don't know if you got to wait.
I know what you're saying, but I think for me, my experience has been that the longer I'm in France, even though I know this country better, I feel more and more American. And I'm still kind of exploring. It's funny, we're like going through a cave, and I guess it's a visual image of what I feel is exploring the American parts of myself and seeing how deep culture really goes.
You know, what I find quite interesting about your situation and you personally is you weren't like a crazy Francophile who moved here because you wanted to try the croissants and walk around the Place de Vosges every day. It wasn't really like that at all for you.
No.
And yet you stayed for 17 years.
I know.
How do we explain that?
Inertia. It's literally just physics. No, it got more and more interesting. I think it's like that blind date that you don't want to go on and your mother set you up and you show up anyway and you end up marrying the guy. It's kind of that.
Right.
I sort of backed into it, I guess.
I get that. That's cool. That's cool. Do you see yourself changing scene anytime soon?
Yeah, I think I'll probably go live someplace else for a little while.
Is there anywhere that's top of the radar? Damn, there's a courtyard open right now. Est-ce qu'on peut voir le cours là, juste pour...
Comment?
On peut voir le cours?
La cour?
Ouais.
Il n'y a rien de particulier, mais si vous voulez jeter un œil.
Bon, merci, c'est gentil. Here we go, Pamela.
Wow, that's what we call chutzpah.
After you.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Ça, c'est magnifique, monsieur. Wow!
Là, j'ai dû bosser là,
That was interesting.
Very.
I told you to sneak in the courtyards.
You've changed my life.
Really?
Seriously.
That was cool, though. I mean,
yeah, he spent 30 years living in this building. He knows the whole history.
Imagine.
Yeah.
And, the other thing,
he showed us the place where they kept the horses.
I know. I mean, like,
it's a theme.
All right. The horse theme continues. It makes you want, as we walk past Victor Hugo's museum and old house, it makes you wonder how much stuff is hidden behind closed doors.
Well, that's the story of France and of Paris in particular. Is, you know the expression "live hidden, live happy."
I've never heard that one, but I like it. Live hidden, live happy.
Yeah, it's all about private. It's a city of private pleasures and public ones. But for me, it's one of the big contrasts with America, where you're supposed to be transparent, straightforward, legible to other people.
That's super interesting, and I wonder how much the fact that there are so many people interested in Paris, so many tourists here, how much that makes them want to keep things hidden as well, you know? Like if you're forced to hide things.
Interesting. Well, I think the tourists here are always trying to have a non-touristic experience and get to this thing that they consider to be the real, authentic Paris. Are we going to go inside?
Yeah, I was going to propose that we
fantastic.
Switch direction in the conversation too.
Okay.
Towards
we're turning.
We're turning left into the famous Square Louis XIII. I say because I'm reading it.
It's 13.
But why is that? I thought it was called the Place de Vosges. So many mysteries in this city, Pamela.
Maybe the Place de Vosges is the larger area, and this is the Yeah.
That could be a good pub quiz question. What's the garden actually called at the Place de Vosges?
That is so
it's
good.
the Louis XIII Square.
I have to be honest, I would still get it wrong.
Oh yeah, me too.
Unless the pub quiz was like right now.
Unless you wrote the pub quiz, then you can't get anything wrong. Well, we're going to walk through the garden, the famous garden. Everyone at home, you've been here, surely. That's the gate opening. We're in. And I want to switch the conversation to children's books.
Oh, because we're passing a sandbox.
Exactly, right? You've just written one, Paris by Phone.
Yes.
And there's quite a jump from writing books about children to writing books for children.
It is, yeah. They're a tougher audience.
You think?
Yeah,
What
I think
prompted the
parents
jump?
are easier to manipulate.
But you know what's interesting about children's book is it's one of the very few things that the people who buy them, they don't buy it for themselves. You know what I mean?
It's always for somebody else.
Yeah,
but they read it often themselves.
That's true. Maybe it's like flowers. You know, people buy flowers as gifts all the time, you know?
But never for themselves.
Perhaps, I don't know.
I feel bad because I kind of buy flowers for myself.
No, you should feel good. Do you want to sit on the bench?
Sure,
Let's talk about
yeah.
this. You can hear the fountains behind us. This is a really interactive episode, Pamela.
Yes.
So the children's book. What prompted the jump to children's book?
I had an idea for a children's book that I really wanted to write. Well, first of all, we talked about bursting into song earlier, but what I really like is rhyme, and I love musical theater and rap. And
rap as well.
Well, yeah, I love rhyming verse,
Yeah.
especially when it's funny.
Yeah.
So
I bet you like Hamilton.
I love Hamilton. I was actually just literally thinking do you do that? Do you see people's thoughts? Is that your thing?
A little bit.
I think so.
No, I wish. But no, Hamilton, yeah.
Yeah, well, Hamilton is the perfect example of the genre.
Do you listen to actual like rap as well?
Not that much. Don't question me on rap because
I'm just interested. I'm just digging a little bit. Okay, so you're into music and words. I mean, it tells Bringing Up Baby. Obviously, you're a wonderful writer, and it doesn't surprise me that you want to play around with words and find them rhyming.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I mean, in my dream job would be to write a musical.
You know, it's weird. It's kind of the same for me.
Really?
Although I think my dream job would to be like a singer-songwriter as well. But I can't sing.
You seem kind of soulful. Like I can see you with a guitar and making like all the women cry.
I can't sing or play the guitar, so it's never going to happen.
Oh.
But anyway, so you want to write a musical, or maybe don't want to, but that's the dream deep down.
I do want to.
Yeah.
I mean, will I do it? God only knows.
Maybe you and I could team up and do a Paris musical.
I was just thinking that.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Well, there already is an American in Paris as a musical.
Oh, you mean the one from the 50s or whatever?
Yeah, that they did a revival of recently.
Right. Do you
but
like
something
that?
like funny.
Hang on, they did a revival of it?
Yeah, I think it went to New York.
Oh, okay.
I didn't actually see it.
Okay.
I've seen the movie. But something funny and weird.
Yeah. We could
like
do it.
about a podcaster who breaks into courtyards.
I think it'd be really cool. You know what I think is, we're going off topic, but we'll get back to topic.
Okay.
But what I like about musicals especially is how they do different rhymes to what you have in songs, because they talk about things that you don't usually have in normal songs.
Interesting. Yeah, songs are all just about heartbreak.
Exactly, right?
It's boring.
Yeah, more or less, you're exactly right.
Except if you're actually having a heartbreak, in which case it seems incredibly relevant.
Whereas if you were to do a musical about whatever, you can suddenly talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, we'll work on that later, but back to children's books. Paris by Phone.
Yes. So I loved I'm fascinated by the idea of that Americans have about Paris as this kind of perfect place where everything will be better, where Paris is kind of everyone's plan B. You know, people say if life goes to pot, I'll just quit my job and move to Paris, or everything would be better in Paris if we could only go to Paris, or remember the time we went to Paris on our honeymoon or my study abroad. It's this golden magical experience. So I wanted to, and I had actually seen this. I don't know if. Is this sounding going to be okay?
No, because just to explain, there's a guy doing renovation near Victor Hugo's place, but the people listening at home will feel they're sitting on the bench with us because we can hear it. This is Paris.
Okay, fantastic.
Maybe it's not what you think it's like at home, guys. There's renovations going on.
Very loud city. Yeah. So there was this Russian movie called Window to Paris, in which a group of people in Soviet-era St. Petersburg living in this dismal communal apartment discover behind a cupboard this door or window that opens onto Paris, and they can literally like climb through it and they're in Paris.
Wow.
Because for Russians too, Paris is the place where everything is perfect.
Amazing.
So I wanted to play with that idea. And I also had this dispute with my daughter when she was very young, where she got so mad at me, she said, I'm going to pick up that phone and I'm going to call someone else. I'm going to dial a random number, and whoever answers, that's going to be my mother instead of you.
Kids say the darndest things, don't they?
The darndest things,
Yeah.
but also it made me realize, like, A, she's trapped with me,
right.
and B, like, the way out is the phone.
Yeah.
That's where how we all travel now, is sort of by. So the book plays on all of those ideas and turns it into a child-appropriate story about a little girl.
Right. And it's only just come out now.
It's just come out, yeah.
Okay. And how's it feel? Does it feel different to having a book for adults coming out?
Well, because of the pandemic, I haven't actually seen the book itself.
Oh, wow.
I've only read a PDF of it and seen pictures. My relatives sent me pictures of themselves hugging the book.
Yeah. So it's out in the States then, but it hasn't come to Paris yet.
It's out in the States. Yeah. I think some people in Paris have received it for mysterious reasons, which no doubt involve horsepower. And, I have not yet received the book.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, it feels great. I'm happy about the book. I worked with a French illustrator named Benjamin Chaud, who is just so full of verve and life and humor, and he added so much to the story. So
cool.
It was really exciting as a writer who often works just all by her lonesome to collaborate with somebody else on something like this.
Idea. And also, you had another book come out a couple of years ago, which
Yes.
I'm yet to read, but I'm going to.
I'm going to test you on it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll do the same to you. But what can we
10
expect?
questions.
What can we expect from that book?
It's called There Are No Grown-Ups, and it's a memoir about entering middle age and what that's like.
Wow, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, what counts as middle age?
I would say 40.
40. Okay, so I'm not 40 yet, but just like I read.
I thought you were well into your 40s.
People always say that.
I'm just kidding.
But I look forward to reading it. I think even like as an anthropological investigation. That's why when I read Bring Up Bébé, I was like, I wonder what's going on here. I'm interested to read observations. I'm glad I did.
Good
so that
for
goes
you.
for all you guys at home who are thinking, I don't have a kid or whatever. Read it anyway. It's an interesting look at France for sure.
Thank you so much. I
No,
appreciate that.
thanks for writing it. But look, I think I have no idea how long we've been talking because of all the courtyards we've slipped into. But I think this is a good time to wind it up. So thank you for being my guest, Pamela Druckerman. And I don't know, I can't wait to see Anne Hathaway take on your life.
Me too. I can't wait. Thank you so much.
So there you have it, Pamela Druckerman and her books. Check them out. Who knows, maybe I'll be writing a musical with her one day. Time will tell, let's see. But to find out more from her, PamelaDruckerman.com, or all the links are in the show notes, as I always say. Now, at the start, I promised I would reveal the secret thread in the newsletter, and I think the best way to do it is by reading the first correct answer that I got. But to paint the picture, every Friday I send out a newsletter. It's free. I send out a newsletter from Paris, and I just say what's going on in the city, especially what's going on with the Eiffel Tower, pictures from behind the scenes, episodes you can look forward to, that sort of thing. But lately I've been getting a little tricky. Just for the sake of a bit of fun, I've been hiding secret messages in there, and then at the end of it I say something like, well, how many did you spot? If you know, you know. And I think it confuses a lot of people, but some people figure it out. And the best way to reveal this week's one is via the winner, Liz Hoffman in Oklahoma City, who got in touch and she said, "Hi Oliver, I'm new and just getting the hang of your clever newsletters. I love your puns and clues in capital letters." She says, "I'm thinking there are 5 Ernest Hemingway titles in your current newsletter. There may be more, but these are all that I could find." And then she writes out, "For whom the bell tolls, the sun also rises. A movable feast, across the river and into the trees, and the old man and the seat." Ha ha ha. The T is in brackets, and I'll explain that in a second. She continues, "I love your podcast, all of Lena's posts and watercolors too. I look forward to your next newsletter, from Liz Hoffman in Oklahoma City." Thank you, Liz. You were exactly right. And she won a book, which she refused she refused the book and said she wanted to buy it instead. So there you go. What a lovely woman, Liz Hoffman. But why that was kind of funny is I baked all of those titles into the newsletter in really sort of cryptic ways. So, for example, I was talking about an old man sleeping on a seat. And then I said, "Turned out to be smooth sailing. I just had to slip past the old man in the seat," which is the old man in the sea, obviously. Other ones that I did was I said, talking about my new place, I said, It's such a treat being here, and the sun also rises right next to the glorious dome of the Invalides. Just a bit of fun for a weekly newsletter. I think there's too many boring newsletters going around, so I didn't dare add my newsletter to the boring newsletter list. Just a bit of fun, theeiffeltower.com/newsletter. Anyway, that'll do for me. As usual, if you want more from this episode, my brother and teammate Eddie, aka the editor, has put together a beautiful scroll featuring everything mentioned in the episode, including pictures of everywhere that we talked about and a beautiful map of where we walked, plus loads more. I think you'll learn something. That's patreon.com/theearfultower, and that is how I get away with not having mattress ads on this show. Thank you for listening. My name's Oliver G. Thanks to Pamela Druckerman for being on the show, and I'll see you again on Monday for another episode of The Earful Tower. Au revoir.